Hello and welcome everyone to episode 7 of eBay Scavengers. Today's show will be things of value or a learning history through scavenging of items. And I'm here with Wendy. Hey, Wendy.
Hello.
Hey. Yeah. So, part of the cool thing about eBay is that is the scavenging part, and that's the coolest thing for me because you get to go out in the world and you just see all the junk and all the waste in this country, and you can kind of find some amazing things.
Yeah, and save them from the landfill. I often think that that's part of our role.
And
taking them like en route to the landfill
Right.
to putting it in someone's hands who wants it.
And then I think even better it's for us, and probably why people are listening, is that then you can actually earn some bucks for it, and so you don't have to get that 9 to 5 job.
Oh, that 9 to 5 job. I'm sure that after 10 years of not doing that, I'm unemployable at this point.
Yeah.
You become too independent to work for another person.
Yep. And just real quick, and I think though that I've told it's Mikey this. I think that really that the idea of eBay Scavengers is basically we're carrying on the tradition that you see those old guys that go around in their cars and they're just picking through trash and they sell them at flea markets. We're just doing the same thing, just in the more modern world where we just sell it on eBay. So it's really kind of the same kind of idea, just kind of 2.0, I guess.
We're gleaners, modern gleaners.
Right. Pickers.
But I think also we're doing something else too, I think, which is we're sort of representing the that retail is not necessary, that overhead and buildings and utilities and space and employees and all that is really an old model.
Absolutely. Right. I mean, that basically the two of us, we both have stores, and we sell quite a bit and we make a lot, but we don't have, the overhead of having a big store, and insurance and employees and all that stuff.
Yeah, I have fantasies that this all leads one day to, all the land coming back and,
Yeah,
but
right.
I don't know about that.
Yeah. So the episode here is about, I guess, how you make a value on things out there. And I think you had some ideas on this.
Well, yeah, it's funny because as I thought about this theme, I thought at first, it's really an asset to have the kind of site that sees value, that knows what's well made and maybe recognizes older, manufacturing techniques or something, but just has an eye for it.
Right.
And I really let myself believe that for about a minute. But then I sell things that are positively, absolutely junk. I'm convinced of it. Sometimes I sell junk. And when people buy it, I think, what the hell do I know about value? It totally flips me on my head.
Yep.
But value is something that I've thought a lot about in my life and work. And I know this, when I look on the street at what's in the trash,
Right.
It's modern, it's newly manufactured, it's in the last 10 years, it's not holding up. And even if it did hold up, say it's like clothing, it had no longevity in a person's heart. They were so willing to just let it go.
Yep.
What you don't so much see in the trash, which is less abundant, is the old good, amazingly manufactured stuff from like the 50s that doesn't break and wear out.
Yep.
So, it's a wiggly question. What is value? I mean, we could even just ask, maybe it's just whatever someone's willing to pay for.
Right. And I think what I've heard you say is that the big thing about running an eBay business, especially for people starting out, is you first have to go and buy things that are interesting to you. Don't think about other people, just think of it yourself. And that's what we did, My big thing was I was big into wool coats. I was really interested in that when I first started because it was so amazing. You could go out and get like big navy pea coats or old winter coats, but the thick a wool kind, and I was really attracted to those, and other people were too. And that's how we started our business basically, or coats.
So, with a little sincerity, now, did you wear those coats while they were listed and for sale?
It's my own. Probably like you, we don't really have a lot of stuff for ourselves. Like, I love to wear the same old pair of shoes. I got like two pairs of pants, but we sell a lot of stuff to other people.
Yeah. Yeah. Mikey loves to wear what's for sale on the eBay store. He
That's
does.
funny.
He's
Yeah.
really funny. He goes right into the closet, the
Yep.
eBay store closet, gets dressed.
Well, there you go. Yeah, I guess what, as long as it goes out to a person clean, that's all that matters.
So, anyway, I think the thing that I'm attracted to, like, and you actually taught me what you just said about
Hmm.
following, what your passion is or what you're
Yep.
attracted to. And I think Ryan even said to me once, you got to live with it and you got
Yep.
to spend the time touching it and listing it. And if you don't like it, you just don't want to do it.
Exactly.
And it's true. I really love, and even more so since I've been a seller, I love stuff from the 50s, appliances that are like tough and heavy and
Yep.
made out of metal and not
Yep.
plastic.
Yep. And
I
I
think
think, and it's those things that are made in other, like, where England and Germany, places like that.
right. We buy anything that's stamped made in Germany.
Yeah. That's
And anything that's stamped made in Japan too. It's like it doesn't even matter what it is, someone's going to buy it. I wonder if you understand the made in USA fetish of the day, which I've been noticing. People are really hell bent on made in the USA. And I know you sell a lot of military stuff.
right.
And I was also wondering if that stuff even was made in the USA.
It's kind of half and half. I mean, there is a lot of stuff that is still made in the States, but there's quite a bit of military stuff, mainly the clothes that are made in China. It's basically, but the more specialized items like hydration packs and things like that are made here in America.
And do you find, not just with military goods, but goods in general, do you find any customers asking, was that made in the USA?
You know what? We really don't get a lot of that. Although we always, on all of our listings, if something isn't made in Mexico or someplace like that, we always say it's made in America or England or Germany. Just because I always think it's important. I think it's a bit of
Yeah.
it stands out as quality.
Yeah, I wonder what it is. We just had quite a few inquiries recently asking us about it.
Huh.
I'm not sure what that's about. Maybe it's just a coincidence.
Right. But and then the other thing that I found, so I think anyone that starts an eBay, you start to buy things that are cool to, it's me, and then I sell them to people, and then I learn what other people like, and then so we start to figure out what people like to hoard almost, like plates and it's glassware and things like that, and then
Oh, the collections.
yeah, collections, right?
Yeah.
And it's just
You
so
know, I
go.
tell Mike, you never let me start a collection. Like if
Yeah.
you see me starting to like load up on one thing, you just put an end to that immediately.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely it's not that kind of it's person, but I know that people are, and I guess I can appreciate it in one sense. Someone has a long life, and they have to be, have something in their life to keep them interested, and so some people they just love to, gather things, and
Right.
yeah, and so
We saw it with owls. Every owl we
yes,
buy, and we buy anything that has an owl on it,
yep.
it gets gobbled up in no time.
Yep. And I find a lot of like the things I sell are like army stuff. Like guys really they gather these like patches and these certain kind of hats and I guess in my better days I just think well these are guys who are it's making these they gather all this stuff up and then when they die hopefully someone will come and buy the whole thing and they'll keep that as one piece.
Interesting. I don't know. It always has a little bit of a sad quality to me, but again, but I'm totally projecting that.
Yeah.
I remember, I remember we had a guy. We found a Ouija board at a garage sale,
Right.
and I got it. I paid $4 for it because it was really old, and I thought there might be something to this. And I got home, and it was like the first generation ever Ouija board,
Right.
and it was in great condition, and somebody paid like $300 for it. And, it was for their collection, and
Yep.
they had a ton of Ouija boards.
Yep. Yep. Well, in our darker it's moments, we definitely think, man, are we just helping people to hoard, to like, they're buying this stuff and it's just like falling over in their house. But, that's not,
Yeah.
neither
And
here nor
if it's
there.
not you, Jay, they'll get it from somewhere
Yeah,
else.
right. Now, the other thing is when I go and scavenge for stuff is I look for if it's made out of a wood or stainless steel, or we talked about its natural fibers, because it's just so weird nowadays. Everything is just made out of plastic. So anything that's made out of that kind of stuff is so valuable.
Yeah, it's amazing. I like you. I definitely purchase items based on their materials. Artisan made goods in particular. If it looks like somebody handmade anything, I'll grab it. Um,
Right.
I just learned about it's called opaline glass.
Yeah, I saw that
Have
that sold. Yeah.
Yeah, so this was something I picked up. I looked at the material and I said, "This is very unusual. I'm sure there's a name for what this is. I've never seen it before in my life." So I grabbed it and I had it around the house for like a year because it was kind of pretty. And then I was like, "All right, I'm done with it," which I do a lot, and threw it up on eBay. And sure enough, I did the research and I think I sold it for like $69.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And the materials thing it just goes in so many directions because even materials like lucite, which seem modern, right? It's a plastic, but lucite had this weird heyday when there was a time when they were really skillful at working with it, and they made these really heavy, beautiful pieces that reflected light. So it's funny.
Yep.
I was going to say about plastics, I'm really trying to avoid interacting with them these days because I keep learning about how toxic they are to our bodies.
Yeah.
But, on the other hand, you take something like lucite and, it's beautiful and you can kind of respect it. So it's funny. And Mikey's a good eye for things like copper.
Yep.
He picked up a little copper box one day and we got it home. Just solid copper, nothing fancy, very kind of roughly made. And it
Yep.
was like a fish steamer and it was like $200.
Wow. Yeah, it's kind of ironic how you start to get a sense of what's expensive and what is not. I think I've got a pretty good eye now where I can be standing, in front of a table full of junk, and my eye just goes to the things that look they just don't look cheaply made.
Yeah. So you use quality of production as a measure?
Absolutely. I mean, so often I won't even know what something is. It just looks interesting, and very often it's being sold for $1. So I'll be like, I'll take a risk for $1, and then you bring it home, you clean it up, you try and find markings on it, and do the research. And I think that's part of the interesting part of doing eBay is like learning that history.
It's one of my favorite things.
Yeah.
I really, really enjoy it. In fact, this week we sold two tortoiseshell bowls, and this was
Wow.
an interesting story because I bought these items. I didn't know what they were. I looked at it and I said, "This looks like organic matter, not man-made." And I held it up to the light. It had that tortoiseshell look like tortoiseshell glasses, right? So I took it home. I bought them two for $1. And it turns out that they were actually tortoiseshell. And they
Wow.
looked like they were from a native, sort of indigenous-like culture. And the image on it, hand carved, depicted like water. So I thought probably an island, or something.
Yep.
So, I throw it up on eBay and very naively, I didn't know that eBay does not allow the sale of tortoise.
Right.
Like ivory, it's just against their policy, and for
Yep.
really good reason. I can't argue it. Um, but anyway, in the 5 seconds that this listing was up,
Mm,
a collector of tortoise bought it.
wow.
And it's funny. Him and Mikey have been emailing ever since. They've become like great friends.
Yeah. I mean, it really does seem like the golden age where you can go out and find stuff, and then you go and I researched online, and there are blogs where people have like in detail researched items, and they talk about the history, and it's a lot of
Oh
fun, you know.
wow! I haven't seen those
Oh, you
blogs, but
haven't?
that sounds really interesting.
Yeah. Like, yeah. So to kind of like, we're kind of towards the end of the show, but there's still a couple things to talk about, and that is the other thing that give a value to items are its availability and if it's like pop culture kind of stuff. So,
Yeah.
yeah, those are things that don't really interest me so much, but I can't pass out some of that stuff because it does go for so much. So like the availability thing is, if an item was only made, 1,000 of them or 10,000 of them were only made during a certain time period, those for some reason
Right.
have a value because they're just hard to find.
Right. It's such a weird thing that you can sort of fabricate value by just doing that, like a
Right.
limited edition.
Yeah. Break the
I think
mold.
like you, right. I think like you, we're a little bit allergic to the novelty and kitsch side of the collector world.
Right.
I feel like people really specialize in it. There's a lot of, people have worked it out to the nickel.
Yep.
I don't have that advantage of knowledge. Occasionally, again, just because I'm attracted to it, I'll wind up with something like a Bradley doll.
Yep.
I like them. I like the 70s, so I'll just take it home. And then, of course, I learned what it's called. Um, I once took a chance on some Barbies, and I like sold one or two. They're kind of trickling out, but it
Yep.
wasn't a big windfall.
Right.
I think they're risky. I've had a lot of success though with the velvet Elvises, anything black velvet painting.
Yeah.
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 And then, like you say, if there's only a limited run of something, like there's a popular book series called Foxfire. It's about
Yep.
like homesteading.
Yep.
And every time I see them, I grab them because they
Yep.
stop making them and people will grab it.
Yep. Yeah. I I just try and stay away from things like Star Wars figures or toys and baseball cards, all that kind of stuff. Because I feel like you have to have a really detailed knowledge of what's it's valuable, and also the its pristineness of the items is very important. Like I bought a couple of those things, but if they have like a mark on them or there's something wrong, then they don't sell for anything. It's basically junk.
Yeah. That's always a bummer when you miss something in the condition. And I tend to be very fast and often miss poor
Right.
condition stuff.
Right.
So, yeah. But it's interesting that we both stay out of those categories.
I just, I just think it's a tough one, and maybe it's just not the things that the two of us are, into. But I see other people on eBay, and they do a business just selling baseball cards or stamps or
Yeah.
like plates that they made in a certain quantity and they have a number on them, or beanie babies, that kind of stuff, all that kind of like you know a, a false availability.
I just saw a Cabbage Patch Baby for the first time since they originally came out in the
Right.
thrift shop. I couldn't believe it. I almost fell
Yeah.
over.
Yeah. But you know what? Some people are into that stuff, so
Yep.
that's it. I mean, that's a reality.
Yep.
All right.
So I think we can. I have a closing sentiment at
Sure.
least. I
Go
think,
for it.
since the topic today is value, in some ways, we really create and generate a lot of value around the products we sell by being able to identify them, finding their name, finding their history,
Yep.
speaking about them in a good way, and reminding people, showing them, hey, this really is valuable. Look how beautiful it is. Look how well made it is. And that's the part I get to feel good about.
Yep. And I think my kind of closing statement would be, I think that it's interesting that we both live in a kind of countryside, like in the rural areas, and eBay allows us to do that because we can make its money online, and we're basically finding all this stuff just out in the vast wasteland of America. And often I'm selling to people like in Brooklyn or LA, we're kind of sending it back into the urban areas where they can give it some kind of context in their culture, and that's
where it can be fetishized by trend.
Exactly. Put on some person's fancy desk somewhere, some old stapler from the 50s that I pulled out of a barn somewhere, So it's a funny,
so crazy.
It's a funny ecology that's kind of been made by eBay and online stores.
It is. It really is. Well, it's good to be a modern gleaner with you, Jay.
No problem. Okay, well, I guess it's next episode. We'll probably switch it up some and get some other people in here. But it was good talking to you today.
Good talking to you, Jay. See ya.
See ya.